Hey everybody, it's the Ioniq guy. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that was hidden in the latest TSB for battery preconditioning. Now, as many of you remember from one of my previous videos, I hinted at the end of it that there was something that I found very interesting in that TSB that I wanted to investigate a little further before I kind of showed you guys my findings. So I had some other owners of Ioniq 5s help me out with determining what's going on here and if something really did change for the better. And I think I have good news. So if you're somebody who regularly charges your car to 100% for long drives, stay tuned because this could save you a little bit of range. So this all began when the latest TSB for battery preconditioning came out. When you looked at the TSB and scrolled to the very end of it, there was a whole list of other things included in the TSB besides battery conditioning. And Hyundai kind of said, we don't have much comment on this. This is what came from Hyundai Korea, so they didn't really want to talk about it. So from the second I saw this list, the one bullet point, which reads air conditioning performance during AC slow charging, really piqued my interest. Because if you'll remember from my road trip video from last summer where I drove 1,000 miles round trip down to Richmond, Virginia and back, when I was preparing the car to leave on my first drive down south, I was charging the car to 100%, but at the same time I also wanted to cool the interior of the car so that when I unplugged and hit the road, the cabin would be nice and cool. The heat pump wouldn't have to work as hard to bring the cabin down to that comfortable temperature, therefore saving some electrons and saving me some range to get down there. Now on this particular day, it was extremely hot. It was about 105, 110 degrees here, so it was just worst case scenario for Connecticut at least. Down in Arizona, you guys experience that on a daily basis. But for me, that was really a stress test for the car. And when I got in while it was charging and pumped the AC up as high as it could go, it was just blowing hot air in my face. I was like, what is going on here? I thought you could precondition the cabin before a road trip. But that wasn't the case. I tried and tried and tried for 20 minutes. Once I unplugged the car, I realized, yes, cold air was now coming out of the vents. So what I did was I charged the car to 100, unplugged, let it cool down the cabin for a few minutes, plugged back in to try and top it off, and I just went back and forth, and it wasn't really doing much, so I decided just to leave with a slightly warm cabin. So when I saw this in the TSB, my mind instantly said, oh, maybe they finally fixed this. Now in my head I was going back and forth whether I was remembering that incident correctly. So to make sure I knew what was happening was different than a year earlier, I went ahead and I reached out to the community and I asked you guys for some help. So an owner of a very early 2022 all-wheel drive here in the US helped me out. He ran some tests, and what he found was when the car was in ACC mode and plugged in, it was blowing warm air out. When he unplugged, it was blowing cold air. So based on that information, that was enough for me to say, hey, they actually changed something for the better. So to verify this, I did some testing. We finally got a rare hot day in the spring here in Connecticut, so I wanted to show you guys something that I discovered with the latest battery conditioning update for the Ioniq 5. But as you can see, the car is plugged in, charging, and it's currently 85 degrees here in my garage. So let's hop in the car and I'll show you guys what I discovered. You can see we're charged to 100%, showing 241 miles of estimated range. Connect to car scanner so I can show you guys some parameters that you might find interesting. So we'll go into all sensors and we'll filter, and I forget what it's called, but I'll look for vent. So interior temperature for the driver vent. This is what we want to look at. And I'll just rest this right here for a minute. So I've got the AC on right now, set to 70 degrees, level 3 auto. And look at this. The driver vent temperature is dropping. So we're plugged in at 100% and the cabin is cooling. So this is a big deal. This is a big new hidden feature of the latest TSB for battery conditioning. And I mean, I can feel it coming out. It's nice and cold. Now, granted, this might not give you an extra 10, 20 miles of range, but maybe it'll give you a few extra miles of range. Anything's better than nothing when it comes to preserving energy in our cars. And if you're somebody who doesn't really need battery conditioning in your car, maybe this would serve a purpose in your life. So you could get the TSB installed just for this and could be beneficial for you. So anyway, guys, I'll have a link to the TSB in the description. If it's something you're interested in, you can go ahead, go to your dealer, complain that you want battery conditioning, and they will install this update, which includes this as part of the bundle. And remember, when you go in for a TSB, bring a copy of the TSB, a physical copy. Also, don't mention it being a recall. It's not a recall. TSBs are not recalls. And you really should complain about an issue to get their attention to actually want to install the TSB for you. So if you complain and say, hey, it takes me forever to charge in the wintertime, they will install the battery conditioning update just to take care of that. So anyway, guys, if you liked today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.